She marched in like a lawyer in a courtroom, drama, heels clicking, folder in hand, eyes sharp with fury. But what killed me wasn't her dramatic entrance. It was the way she held up those divorce papers for a wedding that never included her. Let me rewind. I'm Ava. I married the love of my life, Daniel, 2 Saturdays ago. The wedding was perfect. The guest list? Not so much. That's where it all started, me so-called crime of the century. I didn't invite his extended family. And by his, I mean his mother's entire side, including the star of our story, my sister-in-law, Becky. To be clear, Becky isn't Daniel's sister. She's married to his cousin, Trent. But for reasons known only to the gods of petty drama, Becky has always introduced herself as Daniel's sister. When we got engaged, Becky asked me if she should start looking at maid of honor gowns. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. From the day we announced our engagement, Becky made it her personal mission to be front and center. She offered to help with dress shopping uninvited. She showed up to my bachelorette brunch uninvited. She even created a Pinterest board titled "My Brother's Wedding," full of ideas she intended to surprise me with. I blocked her on Pinterest. And eventually in real life. The problem was Daniel didn't see it. He thought she was just being enthusiastic. But enthusiastic doesn't show up to your bridal fitting and tell the seamstress the neckline isn't boob-friendly enough for family photos. So I made a decision. I'd been trying to keep the peace for months, but I wasn't going to let Becky hijack my wedding. She and the entire mess of cousins, uncles, and aunties that came with her were off the list. Daniel agreed. Reluctantly, but agreed. The only people invited from his side were his parents, his sister, the real one, and his 2 best friends. He kept it tight, intimate, personal, and for a while everything seemed okay. Until 3:42 p.m. on my wedding day. I know the time because my best friend Jess showed me the security footage later. Becky didn't just arrive at the venue, she stormed it. In a white Range Rover. She wasn't on the list, but when the staff told her that, she waved a manila envelope and shouted, "I have legal documents. I'm serving the bride." I wish I were kidding. Jess tried to intercept her. Becky shoved past. By the time she reached me, I was standing behind a curtain, moments from walking down the aisle. I remember the music changing. The coordinator whispering, "Go time." And then heels. Heels. Folder. Heels. "You're a fraud," she shouted. I thought someone had died. Becky stood there in a bright red dress, sweat under her arms, eyeliner halfway to her cheekbones. She looked like a villain in a reality show reunion episode. "I told you not to exclude family," she screamed. "You disrespected tradition. You humiliated our bloodline." I blinked. "Becky, you're not even blood." She trembled with rage, pulled out the folder, and slammed it into my bouquet. "These are annulment papers. Trent and I are done. But I wanted to make it official. We're breaking off from you. You're not family anymore." I stared. Then I laughed. Not a giggle. Not a nervous chuckle. I howled. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my bouquet. Becky looked horrified. "What the hell is funny?" I held up the papers and said, "You can't divorce a wedding you were never invited to." The silence was glorious. Behind me, I could hear my bridesmaid snickering. Jess pulled out her phone and started recording. I looked Becky dead in the eyes and said, "This isn't your soap opera. This is my wedding. Please leave before you embarrass yourself further." And just like that, she was gone. For now. But that wasn't the end. Becky posted a TikTok the next day titled, "How My Husband's Cousin Married a Liar." She spun the whole thing into a tale of betrayal, saying I banned real family for being too pretty, and that I emotionally manipulated Daniel to isolate him. It went semi-viral. And for a hot second I was the villain in someone else's story. Cue twist. A week later, someone named The Real Trent _official stitched Becky's video with a bombshell. Trent, her soon-to-be ex-husband, uploaded a calm, deadpan video. "Hey, just here to clarify some stuff," he began. "I'm Trent, husband of Becky, soon-to-be ex, thank God. Also Daniel's second cousin. Not exactly close." He paused and then dropped it. Becky wasn't invited because she forged an RSVP and added 12 people under her name. The bride found out. The venue said no. Becky lost her mind. He sipped his drink. "Also, we've been separated for 6 months. She just forgot to update her fairy tale script." The internet turned fast. Suddenly, I was being flooded with apologies in the comments. Even Becky's own sister commented, "Girl, this is not your wedding season. Sit down." But let's go back again because what people don't know is what happened before the wedding. Why I didn't just tolerate her. Why I chose to cut ties completely. It started with the rehearsal dinner. Becky showed up anyway. She wasn't on the list. She wasn't supposed to know where it was. But somehow she walked in like she'd been there all along. She wore white. She gave a toast. And she ended it by saying, "I just hope Ava learns to treat Daniel like I always have with loyalty and protection." What the hell does that even mean? Daniel was furious. He told her to leave. His dad followed and tried to calm her down. But the damage was done. That night, Daniel came to me shaken. He confessed something I hadn't known. Becky once called his ex-girlfriend to say Daniel was cheating just because she didn't like the girl's shoes at Thanksgiving. And suddenly everything clicked. She wasn't just dramatic. She was toxic. I called my wedding planner at midnight and told her to remove Becky from every list, backup, and contingency. The planner didn't even hesitate. Oh, the red dress woman? Already blocked her name at security. It wasn't enough. She found a way in. With legal papers. So let me answer the question I've been asked over and over in DMs and comments. Was I the asshole for not inviting my husband's extended family? Not even a little. This wasn't about family. This was about control. Becky didn't care about our marriage. She cared about being seen at our wedding. She wanted to be center stage, and when she couldn't, she tried to burn the stage down. And when the smoke cleared, she was the only one coughing. To this day, Daniel hasn't spoken to her. Trent finalized the divorce 2 weeks ago. Apparently, Becky tried to countersue him for emotional defamation. That's not a thing. Even her lawyer quit. So now I'm sitting here, married to the man I love, watching the video of Becky throwing fake legal documents at my flowers. And I still laugh. Because nothing screams I'm the main character like showing up to someone else's wedding with a breakup speech no one asked for. And honestly, I hope she gets help. But she's not getting another invite. I thought Becky's public meltdown would be the end of it. I thought once the internet had its fun, once Trent signed the divorce papers and Becky deleted her TikTok, we'd all move on. I was wrong. Because 2 days after our honeymoon, Daniel got a call from his mother. I could hear her voice through the phone. Sharp. Controlled. Like a scalpel. "She's still your family," she said. "Whether or not you like her, blood is blood." Daniel closed his eyes, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "She's not even my blood, Mom. She's married into the family and barely that." His mom didn't budge. "You humiliated her. You let your new wife exclude everyone from our side. Do you know how that looks?" Daniel replied slowly. "It looks like boundaries. It looks like us protecting our peace." But I could see the way his jaw clenched. The old pattern stirring. For all his resolve, Daniel still wanted his mother's approval. So did I once. When Daniel and I first got serious, I did everything I could to connect with his family. I learned his mother's favorite wine. I memorized everyone's birthdays. I baked the lasagna she said no one could get right except her grandmother, just to show I could try. It never worked. She never hated me outright. But I was never the right kind of girl either. She once told me, sipping iced tea on her porch, "You're very independent." That's good. But don't forget marriage is about sacrifice. You can't lead everything. I asked her what she meant. She smiled and said, "Just don't steamroll my son. He's very easygoing. That's what makes him special. Don't take advantage." I didn't respond. But I remember that conversation whenever someone asks why I was so firm with the wedding list. It wasn't just about Becky. It was about the message. I wanted to start our marriage without compromise on dignity, on safety, on peace. But the phone call proved something. Even if Becky was gone, the rot was deeper. That night, I found Daniel sitting alone on the back porch. He didn't look up as I stepped out. "She's furious," he said. I sat beside him. "Your mom." He nodded. "She says she's not sure if she can forgive me. That it's not about Becky, it's about how I let you treat the whole side of the family like they were disposable." I swallowed hard. "Did you tell her about Becky RSVPing with 12 fake guests? About the toast at the rehearsal dinner?" I tried. But she said I was being dramatic. That Becky was just trying to help. I bit the inside of my cheek. "Do you believe that?" He looked at me, really looked. "No. But I believe Mom wants to. And there it was. We sat in silence for a long time, the night warm around us. I reached for his hand. She's going to try to guilt you. He nodded. Already is. Are you okay? He gave me a crooked smile. Honestly, I'm embarrassed. And a little angry. But mostly I'm just tired. I want to live our life. Not keep defending it. And that's when we came up with the idea. We would host a small dinner, just his immediate family. No cousins. No Becky. Just his parents and his sister. We'd invite them over, open the floor for questions and tell them the truth. Everything. No sugarcoating. Daniel texted them the next morning. His sister replied within minutes, thank God. I've been dying to talk without Becky hijacking everything. His dad sent a thumbs up. His mom took 12 hours to respond. Her text, I suppose we can try. That Friday night I cooked. Not to impress but to ground the moment. Food has always been how I hold people close. Felt right. They arrived at 6:30 sharp. His mom brought a pie from her favorite bakery and handed it to me like a peace offering she didn't quite believe in. We sat. We ate. It was quiet. Then Daniel cleared his throat. We need to talk. About the wedding. And about Becky. His mom shifted in her seat. Daniel didn't hesitate. He told them everything. How Becky had manipulated her way into the rehearsal dinner. How she forged RSVPs. How she made threats. How she stormed into the bridal suite with a folder of nonsense and tried to crash our vows. His father looked stunned. His sister looked relieved. His mom looked at me. You didn't tell me any of this. I smiled tiredly. With respect, I didn't think you believed me. Or care. I would have, she said quickly. Would you? I asked, voice quiet. Because when we told you what Becky did, you said I humiliated her. The silence was heavy. Daniel jumped in. Mom, you didn't want to hear it. You were more upset that we didn't do things your way. His mother's eyes flashed. That's not fair. It is, he said gently. But I'm not here to fight. I'm here to say that we're drawing a line. You don't have to like it. But you do have to respect it. Then came the twist I never saw coming. His dad, Wyatt, kind, usually passive, cleared his throat and said, there's something I should have told you both a long time ago. Everyone turned to him. He rubbed his chin and looked at his wife. You remember Christmas 5 years ago? When Becky got in that screaming match with your cousin Anita. She narrowed her eyes. What about it? She wasn't fighting about seating. She was threatening to out Anita's son. Because he wouldn't flirt with her. My jaw dropped. Daniel stared. Wait, what? His dad nodded. I asked Anita to keep it quiet. Told her Becky was just drunk. But I saw the texts. Becky was blackmailing him. She wanted to make it look like he was into her just so she could make Trent jealous. His mother looked pale. His sister whispered, oh my God. And I should have stopped it then, his dad said, looking ashamed. But I was afraid of rocking the boat. Afraid of what people would say. And now look at what it's cost. The room was so still, I could hear the ice shifting in our glasses. Finally, Daniel said, why didn't you tell us sooner? I thought it was a one-time thing. But now I think she's been like this a long time. And I think we all let her get away with it. No one said anything for a while. Then Daniel's mother stood up. I need some air. She walked outside. His dad sighed. I'm sorry. For not saying anything sooner. You did the right thing, Ava. I'm proud of both of you. His sister reached over and squeezed my hand. I always knew she was messed up. But I didn't know it was this deep. When his mom came back in 20 minutes later, her eyes were red. She sat down, took a breath and said, I need time. I need to think about all of this. But I hear you. And I'm sorry. It wasn't a full apology. But it was something. And for the first time in a long time I felt hope. Not just for our marriage but for our future. A future that didn't have to include everyone, just the ones who were willing to grow. That night, as I climbed into bed beside Daniel, he looked over at me and said, you know what I realized tonight? What? Peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from surviving it. Together. I smiled. And maybe from kicking out people who bring folders full of fake legal drama to weddings. He laughed. That too. We turned off the light. And for the first time in weeks I slept like a bride who had finally put the drama to bed. I should have known Becky wouldn't go quietly. The dinner with Daniel's family felt like a breakthrough, a turning point. But the thing about people like Becky is, they don't take silence as a consequence. They take it as a challenge. 3 days after that dinner, she posted a story on Instagram. Black screen. White text. When liars win, truth burns in silence. Not for long. Underneath it? A location tag. Jackson County Courthouse. And 30 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from Jess. Becky just filed something. Girl, I think she's suing you. I laughed at first. Then I checked. It wasn't a lawsuit. Not exactly. It was a petition for emotional distress, accompanied by a request for a no-contact order against me. Let that sink in. She stormed my wedding, my suite, shoved papers in my face, and now she wanted the court to believe I was a threat to her emotional well-being? The woman was truly unhinged. I called Daniel, who was still at work. His reaction? Is this performance art? Unfortunately, it was real enough to require a court date. I sat in our kitchen staring at the printed petition while my lasagna bubbled in the oven. Under reason for distress, Becky had written. The respondent, Ava, has exhibited prolonged psychological manipulation, exclusion tactics, and defamation, causing me loss of marital support, emotional dislocation, and public humiliation. Daniel's eyes scanned the page. What the hell is emotional dislocation? I think she just made it up, I replied, rubbing my temples. I mean, she literally made up 12 guests on her RSVP. I wasn't afraid of losing in court. The woman had no evidence, no credibility. But I was furious that I even had to waste my time. And worse? Her plan was working. People started whispering again. Extended family. Distant friends. Some of Daniel's co-workers even asked, "Hey, what's going on with your cousin's wife? Is your wife really being sued?" It didn't matter that the whole thing was ridiculous. Becky knew that if you threw enough glitter at the wind, something would stick. Daniel suggested we countersue for defamation. But I didn't want to drag this further into the mud. What I wanted was to end it. So I came up with an idea. One Becky wouldn't see coming. We went to court. I wore a cream blazer and flats. No drama. No makeup statement. Just clean, calm presence. Daniel came with me. Jess, too, she took PTO just to be there. Becky, of course, arrived in full glam. Contour sharp enough to slice cheese, a power suit 2 sizes too tight, and stilettos I swear she borrowed from a fashion intern's fever dream. She brought a folder again. Classic Becky. The judge called the session to order, barely hiding her exhaustion at the sight of Becky flipping through exhibits, which included printouts of TikTok comments and screenshots of Pinterest boards. I kid you not, at one point, Becky claimed emotional damage from me blocking her wedding-themed Pinterest board. The judge stopped her mid-sentence. Ms. Harrow, please clarify. Are you suggesting that being removed from a social media mood board constitutes harassment? Becky straightened. Your Honor, she deleted my dreams. The courtroom, already dangerously close to laughing, racked. Even the bailiff chuckled. The judge sighed, rubbing her forehead. I've reviewed the written petition. And I have to say, this seems more like a personal vendetta than a legitimate claim. Do you have any evidence that the respondent physically or verbally threatened you? Becky hesitated. Not physically. But emotionally? She ruined my marriage. Daniel leaned toward me and whispered. You mean the one you already ruined 6 months ago? I squeezed his hand under the table. Then the judge turned to me. Miss Bennett, do you have anything to add? I stood up. Only this. I did not invite Miss Harrow to my wedding. She forced her way in, tried to disrupt it, and has since used social media to smear my name. I didn't respond until now because I didn't want to escalate things. But this crosses a line. The judge nodded slowly. Then she said the words I'd been waiting for. Petition dismissed. And I strongly advise the petitioner to seek counseling, not litigation, as a method of processing interpersonal grievances. Becky looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole. As we walked out of the courthouse, Jess muttered, that woman really tried to weaponize Pinterest in a court of law. I exhaled. Let's go get drinks. I'm done with this. But unfortunately, Becky still wasn't. 2 days later, a letter arrived at my workplace. Anonymous. But the handwriting was unmistakable. Inside were copies of her court filings, labeled in case your employer should be aware of who they hired. I worked in nonprofit grant development. And while I didn't fear actual consequences, our HR rep took one look at the papers and said, What in middle school drama is this? I was exhausted. And that's when I knew it was time to end this not with revenge. With exposure. I called Trent. We'd never spoken directly before. But I found his number through Jess, who'd become a casual Instagram acquaintance of his since the TikTok incident. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, I was wondering when this might happen. I need to ask, how bad did it get with her? When you were married. There was a pause. Then he said, she filed a police report on me for threatening to turn off the Wi-Fi. That bad enough for you? I sat down slowly. He sighed. She was always chasing a storyline. Never just living. Everything had to be dramatic. Every dinner a scene. Every quiet moment a battle. I told him what she'd done lately. The court. The letter to my job. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I have something. I wasn't going to release it. I didn't want to be petty. But if she's dragging you through this mess, maybe it's time. What is it? A voice memo. She left it on our shared Google Drive by accident. She thought she deleted it, but I backed it up. What's in it? She admits she tried to crash your wedding. That she never got an invite. That she only filed the petition to get the public narrative back. It's kind of damning. I blinked. Why didn't you release it before? Because I wanted to believe she'd get help. But she clearly hasn't. He sent it to me that evening. I didn't post it. I sent Ito her an email. No subject line. Just a Dropbox link in one line. You say I deleted your dreams. You're about to delete your credibility. Last chance. Walk away. The next day, all her social media accounts went dark. Just gone. Not a word. Not a post. Not a clapback. She vanished. And for the first time in what felt like a year, there was silence. Daniel and I celebrated by going away for the weekend. Just us, a lake house, and a promise. No more family drama for at least 30 days. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. We didn't win some grand battle. But we reclaimed our peace. We learned how to fight as a team. We learned when to draw lines and when to hold them. And most of all, we learned that not every villain wears black. Some wear red. And carry folders. 3 months passed. No court filings. No anonymous letters. No cryptic Instagram stories. Becky had disappeared so completely. Some people began to wonder if she'd moved out of state or finally checked herself into therapy. Daniel and I slowly started building a life not defined by her shadows. Sunday farmers markets. Quiet dinners with his sister. A weekend trip to the coast where we watched the sun rise over cold sand and promised to leave the past behind. It felt like healing. And then she showed up again. Not with stilettos or folders. But with a baby. We were walking out of Target, arms full of paper towels and bulk trail mix, when I saw her by the sliding doors. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was in a frizzy ponytail. She looked small. Smaller than I remembered. Her eyes were puffy. She held a babino older than a few weeks in her arms like a shield. I froze. Daniel's grip on the cart tightened. Do you want to go the other way? But before I could answer, she stepped forward. Ava, she said. Quiet. Almost unsure. My instincts screamed, walk away. But I didn't. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I wanted to see what else she could possibly say. She took a shaky breath. I know you don't want to see me. I get it. But I needed to say something. I said nothing. She looked down at the baby, then back up. This is Mira. She's mine. I had no idea I was pregnant when Trent filed. It's complicated. Daniel's expression didn't change. Becky swallowed. I'm not here to make drama. Or file anything. Or talk about the wedding. She paused. I was awful to you. To both of you. I lost control. I made myself the main character in a story that wasn't mine. And I blamed you for everything that fell apart. But the truth is, it was already broken. I just didn't want to admit it. The baby stirred. She gently rocked her. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just needed to say it out loud. To someone who saw me at my worst. She nodded once. That's all. Then she turned to go. And for a moment I let her. But then I stepped forward. Becky. She stopped. I appreciate what you said. I really do. But you hurt a lot of people. Not just me. You humiliated Daniel. You used your kid as leverage for pity. And you didn't just cross a line. You danced on it. She looked down. I know. I took a breath. But this is the first time I've seen you real, not performing. And for that, I'm grateful. She looked up, surprised. But this isn't a doorway opening, I continued. It's just closure. I wish you the best. But we're not reconnecting. And we're not rebuilding. This chapter is over. Becky nodded. Tears clung to her lashes, but she didn't cry. She whispered, "Thank you." Then she left. I watched her go, the baby tucked against her chest. She didn't look back. That night, Daniel and I sat on the couch in silence. I didn't expect her to be like that, he said. Me neither. He leaned his head against mine. Do you regret what we did? Cutting them all off. I thought about it. No, I said. Because sometimes you don't get peace by forgiving. You get it by walking away. And he understood that. Deep in his bones. 6 months later, we moved. Not far. Just to a quieter neighborhood, closer to Daniel's job and farther from old ghosts. His mother visits sometimes less often than she used to. But when she does, it's warmer now. Softer. Like she's finally let go of trying to mold us into her idea of perfect. We host dinners. Small ones. With people who love us the way we are. And every now and then I remember Becky. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. Just a strange, distant compassion. Because I think, deep down, Becky was a mirror. A distorted one, but a mirror all the same. She showed me how easy it is to lose yourself in needing to be seen. And how important it is to know when to step back and let other people live. My wedding wasn't the one I dreamed of when I was a little girl. It was better. Because it taught me who I am when I'm tested. Who Daniel is when he's pushed. And who we are together when the storm finally breaks. And that's a marriage story I'll never need to rewrite.